Look at this wonderful little delight. This is a pork tenderloin sandwich. You heard me. I said tenderloin of pork, pounded out, seasoned with panko breadcrumbs, fried up, and turned into a most magnificent sandwich. Give this one a try. Hello, and welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. Today it's a little bit noisy in here because we have a rainstorm outside. That doesn't matter. Good cooking happens despite rain. So today we're going to be making a pork sandwich. Something extra special for you. Now, this isn't a normal pork sandwich. You know me. I don't do anything normal. It has to always be overdone, right? Not always. Okay, this sandwich is actually like schnitzel on bread. If you're German, you know what I'm talking about. This tastes really good. Okay, and it's a favorite in Indiana. It's a Hoosier State special. So what we're going to do is the pork tenderloin, not loin, the tenderloin, and we're going to make a very special breading for it, and we're going to turn that sucker into a breaded cutlet sandwich. Oh, this one's a good one. So I'll tell you what, come a little closer. Let me show you how we're going to make this sucker. Let's start off over here with our pork tenderloin. This is a good sized pork tenderloin. It's a fairly large one actually. Most of these are a little bit smaller than this. But I'm going to work with this and it'll make some beautiful cutlets. And what we're going to do is make some cross cuts that are a little bit wider than normal and then pound those down into some beautiful cutlets. Over here, what I have is a nice bun, some eggs. Back here we have some spices. I've got some onion powder here and also some coriander. Over here some salt, milk, and black pepper. Now just over on the side here I've got some breadcrumbs. I like to use the panko breadcrumbs because these things start crunchy and they end crunchy and they keep being crunchy. They're the greatest thing in the world for breadcrumbs, so give this a try. And I have some plain old flour right here. Now what I'm going to be doing is making a wonderful batter, or breading rather, from this right here. And I want to show you how to do that. And then we're going to turn this lovely darling into a beautiful gem. I have here a bun that I have made, and if you want to make your own buns, check out my video on focaccia buns and you can make the same exact thing as this. The only difference in this bun is I have omitted the cheese and the herbs that they used in that recipe, and I included the same amount in cheddar. Let's go ahead and process out our tenderloin. Now, as I mentioned just a moment ago that we're working tenderloin, not loin. A lot of people seem to have a confusion about that. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. There are a certain number of people who do. And for some reason they think the pork loin is a tenderloin, or at least maybe they're trying to trick somebody. I see a lot of videos out there that people are slicing up a pork loin and they're sitting there calling it a tenderloin. That seems kind of weird to me. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just going to remove some of the surface fat and what they like to call silver skin. And the best way to do that is we need to glide a very sharp pointed knife. Always make sure that tip is extremely pointed up underneath that fat band and out. Now I probably caught a little meat under here, but it's not a big deal. What I want to do is just turn the knife edge up just slightly like so and cut down. And here's the thing, if I remove meat on part of this and there's just a little bit of pink there, it's not a big deal because it's not enough to worry with. Let's go ahead and finish getting the rest of this. It's right up underneath the head meat there. There we go. And this stuff doesn't have to be removed, but it is a little bit tough and you don't want the outer edge of your meat to be tough. So what I want to do is show you how to do this, and that way you don't have to worry about biting into a tougher stringy outer edge because you had this connective tissue in there. Some people would be appalled that I am removing so much fat, but those people can just get over it. They can leave it in on theirs. Now, wonderful thing here. you take a beautiful tender cut of meat like this, and we cut it down into these little fillets, and I'm going to pound them out. And so you take something that's already tender and you put it through a process that will make it even more tender. Now, this silver skin, or this tough connective tissue, runs under a layer of meat right here. And the only way to get it completely out is to completely extract that meat off of it. Don't bother, just stop at that point. Go ahead and remove the remaining surface fat. Now, underneath this head meat, there's a little bit of fat that kind of holds it together. I'm going to pull that back, just like so. Alright, now basic butchering, very simple stuff. Just cleans one of these up real well. What I want to do is to cut this into some nice pieces to be pounded out. The first one, this part right here, it narrows right here quickly. So this one section I want to remove and turn that into a single fillet, or scallop you might say. Now, I want these to be pounded out, so they're going to have to make a thick cut. What I'm looking at here is making about 1.5 inches thick cut, and that's what I'm going to go with. It's a beautiful size. See, that right there's 1 inch. Right there's about 1.5 inches. I'm just going to divide these into 2. There we go. Now, I'll get several very perfect shape from these wonderful little chops right here. Okay, my first one's a little thinner. This one will be kind of long. This one will be just kind of a funky shape that stretches out in different ways. So what I have is some very beautiful sets right here. Now, the next thing to do, as I mentioned before, we're going to pound these out. What I want to do is to use a skillet and a plastic bag. I have a small skillet. And what you want to look for is a pan that's got a rounded bottom, or if you have a meat mallet, that works really well. Make sure your meat mallet doesn't have a small head. Make sure it has a large one about the size of a fist. If it does, then you're looking at something that'll work really well. The small ones have a tendency to tear the meat up a bit too much. Now, we don't want to lay it so the grain runs sideways. We want to lay it in our bag so the grain runs up and down, so that our cut portion is up and down. Very gently. I didn't use much pressure at all. Look how quickly I have changed that fillet. What I'm looking for here, I'm going to move my knife so it doesn't jingle jangle on us. I'm looking for my fillets to be about 3/8 of an inch thick. A quarter is, I would say, a bit on the too thin side. A half, I would say, is a bit too thick. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful little fillets. Here we are with the meat all spread out. Let's take some salt first. From a high place, gently salt our cutlets. There we go. Gently working that salt down on there. Now, generally, I notice that there's some herbs that are used in the Hoosier State version of this, but I'm not that fond of that on pork. And what I'm going to do is to use coriander, which is like pork's best friend. And if you've never had coriander on pork, gosh, you've missed out. Just two flavors that work fantastic together. So I'm going to use plenty of it. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little bit of secret. If it looks like I'm putting too much of this on here, well, normally you would be right. I'd be overspicing this. However, we're going to be frying in a deep oil today. Now, you might be frying shallow, so if you're only using a few tablespoons of oil, don't put this much spice on there. However, if you're going to be deep frying the way I'm going to be doing, then you're going to need plenty of spice. There's a good reason for this. When you are frying, remember, what we're doing here is we're applying spices to the meat. Spices add flavor to the meat through the oils that they contain. And we are then going to put this meat into an oil to fry it, to cook it. Well, what ends up happening is the oils that are in the spices end up being dispersed into the oil that you're frying with, so that only about 10 to 20% of the oil that goes into the meat actually remains at the meat surface. The rest is off in the cooking oil. So you want to consider that when applying your spice. You can go heavier on spice when deep frying. And that's about the only time I know of. I'm going to use a little black pepper on these. Again, I want to grind this from a high position. There we go. Wasn't kicking out enough. I will repeat this procedure on the second side, and then we're going to be off to our battering procedure, preparing these for sandwiches. Well, we are on to making the binder for our breading. We have some eggs here. I have 4 eggs, and I'm going to crack these into this bowl one at a time. There we are. Beautiful. Just a quick rinse for my hands. I have 1 cup of milk. I first want to go ahead and kind of scramble this off a bit. There we go. Pour in a portion of my milk, work it in. And a little bit more. There we are. Okay, we have our binder for our batter. It's time for us to get busy frying up these beautiful cutlets. Now, I have a pan with peanut oil in it here. If you prefer to use vegetable oil or canola or whatever, go ahead and use your own thing. I prefer peanut for the flavor and the fact that it's healthy. Unless, of course, you're allergic to peanuts, at which it would kill you. Alright, so I have a 1/2 inch deep amount of oil in this pan. So what I'm doing here is actually a deep fry. Over here, we have our breading materials. I have our flour, and in the larger bowls back here, we have the panko breadcrumbs, and underneath that, I have the egg mixture. That is our binder. Now, our binder will hold the panko breadcrumbs to it really well if I just throw this right down into that. But if I go ahead and flour this first, what that's going to do to me is it's going to allow this cutlet to hold even more of the binder. If it holds more of the binder, I can have more of my breadcrumbs on the outside of my fillet. It's just that simple. Now, while those are sitting in the bread, I have my burner. I've just turned it on high, and I'm going to bring that up in temperature. Now, if you wish, you can pre-flour all of these cutlets first, set them aside. That works well also. In this case, I'm not going to bother with it. I'm just going to work them as I go, and I'm going to use the same pan here that I have my meat setting on as a cooling rack in just a little bit. I'm going to put a grid rack on top of this so it will drop grease. Alright, we're just waiting on that oil. Well, now my oil temperature is beginning to pass 250 degrees. So I want to take these cutlets that I threw down in the flour earlier. I want to pull them out one at a time, put them down into my egg mixture, and take my panko breadcrumbs, give it a shake, same way I did earlier. See how quickly covers it. It's perfect. I'm going to take that cutlet that's been heavily breaded, put it right down in my oil to fry. There it goes. My oil is just now reaching 300. So excited about my sandwich. Get it? The golden dark color on the bottom there, just like on top. And I'm finished with that fry. Next, we're just on to making our sandwich. These beautiful cutlets. Well, as you can see, it wasn't that difficult, was it? Now it's time for us to assemble all of our goodies into a most magnificent little sandwich. So I'll tell you what, come a little closer. Let's get this on. Now, let's start with what we're going to be spreading on this. I have here just a little bit of mayonnaise and just a little bit of some Dijon mustard. And what I want to do is to place the Dijon mustard right down over the top of my mayonnaise. And what I like to do is a Dijonaise, and that's all this is. It's just really simple. And no, I'm not going to make fresh mayonnaise for you for this one. That's a different show. Now, simple enough, just mix the two, and you have a wonderful sandwich spread. And the best way to remember how to do this is a simple 2-to-1 ratio. 2 parts of mayonnaise to 1 part Dijon mustard, and you get a smooth, creamy, wonderful tasting spread. Just like that. Now, goodness, that tastes good. The bun. For a nice little sandwich. There we go. Something real pretty. Bring this all down here onto my board. Take my Dijonaise, little spread here, a little bit of a spread there. So, if you're in the Hoosier State and you say, hold it, we don't do that to our sandwiches, well, just remember, this is Texas cooking today, not Hoosier State cooking today. Now, I think I want, and this isn't normally done, but I like a little bit of cheese on mine. Put a bit of cheese on the bottom. We'll get us a beautiful fillet on there. Now, onion. And when I do my onion, I slice it real super duper thin. That way, it imparts a beautiful flavor without being overwhelming. Just a wee bit of tomato there. And I have some red leaf lettuce here. Beautiful. Just like so. I think I want a little bitty skewer to kind of help hold everything together. Just like that. There we go. One beautiful sandwich. Well, there we have it. A simple fried pork tenderloin sandwich. That's right. Absolutely gorgeous. Undeniably beautiful. Oh man, what a dig in. Oh. Look at the cook. Yummy. Well, I know what I'm going to be doing for about the next 30 minutes. I hope you enjoy yours too, because these things are so delicious. And I'll tell you what, thank you. Thank you for watching this show. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today. And to my subscribers, thank you. Thank you for subscribing. And you have a good day. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today, the show where you can get great recipes and the best techniques are taught. Please subscribe to Texas Cooking Today, where you will always find something hot and ready to eat.